Hey guys, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Gordon Murray T.50. So, for those of us who are not very aware who Gordon Murray is, essentially, he is a designer and he's designed the McLaren F1, he's designed Formula One vehicles. There's a lot of history into who exactly Gordon Murray is. And you know what, there's actually a video that I watched before making this video to give me a better idea. So I'm going to link it in the description below so you guys can check out more about who Gordon Murray is and more about the sort of vehicles that he's designed. But essentially he's definitely one of the bigger names in the car world, or at least one of the more familiar names in the car world, especially if you're into Formula One. I will get into a lot more of this in the video. However, if you guys are new here, definitely subscribe to this channel, definitely watch my other videos, and definitely like this video as well. There's a bug, like a fruit fly or something. If you guys are returning. Okay, let's power through. And if you guys are returning, then thank you for watching my content. Thank you for subscribing as well. As cliche as it sounds, it definitely keeps me going. And it's also pretty fun to engage with you guys in the comments as well. So, without further ado, let's start up this video. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Gordon Murray is before I go into the vehicle. So essentially Gordon Murray is a South African British designer, and he's designed cars from the McLaren F1 to, well, F1 vehicles, so Formula One vehicles. So again, if you're in the Formula One world, you're probably somewhat familiar or maybe very familiar with who Gordon Murray is. I believe he was one of the first ones to put a fan on the rear end of a Formula One vehicle, and as you can tell, he's pretty much done the same thing with this T50. And there's so many, it's rather interesting because there's so many different reasons or so many different uses for the fan, which I'm going to get to in this video a little bit later on. However, first of all, I'm going to talk about the specs of this vehicle. So, we're looking at a 4-liter V12, which puts out 654 horsepower. Of course, it's a 6-speed manual transmission, so a stick-shift vehicle. And for the low price of $2.5 million, you can get yourself one as well. So for starters, let's look at the cockpit. So, we have a center, I guess it's like a center seat or a central drive type deal, where you have one seat in the middle of the vehicle and you have two in the rear as well, so it's a 3-person car. In that case, it sort of creates a lot of balance, especially if it's a sort of car that you'd want to race. Being able to sit where your weight is in the middle of the vehicle just allows you to perform better, adds on to the handling and all of that. In addition, talking about the fan at the rear end, which I'm sure some of you guys are very puzzled about, as was I initially. It's actually a very interesting design and it's very functional, of course, but it has up to 6 different functions. So for starters, it of course increases the downforce. So when you're driving it around a track or driving it down the street, you're able to, of course, go faster because you have that additional amount of downforce. And of course, going back to the Formula One cars back in the day, that's the sort of thing you needed. You had very limited technology, meaning you had to look for other ways to generate more downforce and to create more speed, more power in general for the vehicle. Whereas today you have almost an infinite amount of design, of research, of development, and all of that, which can pretty much get your car to perform as fast as you want or allow it to handle as well as you want. And of course, again, the fan also comes into play when you're braking, because what happens is, again, with the insane amount of downforce you already have, you have these flaps that engage as well, which increases and almost doubles the amount of downforce that you get in the vehicle, which again allows you to brake. And in a car where you're going as fast as this car, you definitely would want your brakes to be working at their full capacity. Overall, I have to say this is a pretty interesting vehicle. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with Gordon Murray because, again, I've sort of recently got back into Formula One. I used to watch it a bunch when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you're just like, you just see cars racing on TV and you're like, oh, there's a car racing on TV, I should watch it. But then when you actually learn about the history of vehicles, it just becomes that much more interesting. And I'm sort of like working backwards, essentially trying to like catch up with like all the technology and all the changes that have gone over the course of several decades. I feel like one of my favorite or one of the most interesting features about this vehicle is the fact that it channels a bunch of air from the engine into the cabin, so you can hear like the burbles and the growls of the engine that much more. And speaking of the engine in general, here's a little clip of what it sounds like. So let me know what you guys think about this vehicle. I thought it was just really interesting and I wanted to share it with you. It has so many rather interesting features, some of which I've spoken about. If you guys want like some like specific details about this vehicle, then let me know in the comments below and I can make an even more in-depth, like more engineering-y type video as an engineer myself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this content. Definitely like this video, subscribe and all that good stuff, and I will catch you guys next time.